Okay, that was a really good win for us. I was proud of our team and their effort today. I thought it was tremendous by our defense. The first drive they had against us was 75 yards, and the last one was 51. So you look at 341 yards, and for the middle of the game, only about 215 or 20. So our guys really played well, especially with our offense playing just average for the most part. We made way too many mistakes. We had too many drops, didn't convert short yardage. I'm proud of the effort, proud of the way they ran the football. I see Joe rush for 150, and JW had 50 rushing. Thought Desmond did a nice job finishing the game, running the ball for us. Our goal was for JW to throw it 50 times in this game, and we were close. He got up to 47. So our punting was great. We weren't where we wanted to be in kicking field goals. I know we missed 2 today. I think they were both in excess of 50, but Quinn certainly very capable of hitting those. So I think the credit goes to our coaches with where we're at right now as a football team against the 24th ranked team in the country to win by 3 touchdowns. Pretty impressive. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've got to try to find a way to get our guys healthy and keep practicing hard, but the attitude of our team is very good. Their body language is very good, and they played with a lot of fire and energy today, and we got a long ways to go, but today was a good game for our team.
You had a goal of 50 for knowing what they would do defensively, stop the run, or why go?
We just felt like we had to throw the ball to move it, and they've been as good as anybody in our league, in my opinion, at stopping the run. And for the most part, they're giving up 3.4 a rush, giving up 17.2 a game in points, and they're doing that with only 13 sacks. So if you add all that together, it tells you better be able to throw passes down the field. And so we felt like that we had to throw it 50 times in order to win the game.
Mike Walker's played very good game now for you. Playing and getting the rest. You reach the point now that he's somewhat counterproductive if you can get the quarterback in the way and play well enough to do that, or?
Well, at this time last week, everybody was telling us how bad he played. And that's the good thing about college football. You get another shot. Everybody was down when I went to the coffee shop, on the way to work, the gas station, dropped the kids off at school. Everybody was worried about JW. He is not the answer. He hasn't arrived because he's a freshman that's played in, 3 or 4 games. But I think that his effort, and he was very productive today. But we don't have to make that decision right now. The good news is we've always felt like we had 2 quarterbacks that were good players. And as the season progresses, I think we're finding out that that's true. They're just 2 different style of players.
And what is the status on the left? Is he not able to go today, or just say let's go walk?
Last week in an emergency, we could have used him. It wasn't. He could have played today, and I would not have considered it an emergency situation. But as I said a month ago, Barry, that we wanted to make sure that he's healthy before we put him in, because he's a freshman, and it's just different. When you're a 4th or 5th year guy, you kind of understand pain and how to deal with it. But he's young, and we want to make sure that he's full speed before we put him in the game. And his workload in practice increased each day, and then later in the week we felt like that he may not be ready, so we gave Chelf more reps, and we'll do the same thing this week. We'll find out where he's at through Tuesday and Wednesday.
Did you analyze Walton's play over the last month? Has it been moving you expected, growing faster than you thought, aggressive than you thought he would make?
I think both quarterbacks are playing better than what anybody would have anticipated as a freshman or a true freshman. I think they're very well coached. JW made 8-10 key mistakes today. And that's what I was talking about, referring to earlier, that a veteran guy in our offense doesn't make the mistakes he made today. But that's part of the growing pains. That's what he's going to do. He also made some plays on his own that helped us continue drives. And of course, Wes hadn't played in a month now, so but when he went out, he was playing pretty good. They're both very young, as you guys know. They've both just started on the learning curve making mistakes. We would hope that the mistakes that JW made today, he won't make the next week. Same thing with Lunt. And there was mistakes that JW made at Kansas throwing the ball. We called the same plays today, and ironically, we got the same look, and he executed it correctly, meaning that he learned. It's just a slow process, and you can't really rush a young man through it at that position, at least not in our offense. Today, we got to be better in the red zone scoring touchdowns. And, you know, everybody knows that when we had a first-round pick at quarterback and a first-round pick at wideout, it made it easier. And I think that's anybody in the country. When you don't have that skill set, in our style of offense, you have to manufacture a way to score touchdowns. There's pros and cons with our offense, and short yardage and inside the 7-yard line is always a difficult situation for us. We talk about it, we scheme it, we plan it, but if you look at people that run our style of offense and have similarities, we're in the same boat. Now, there's a lot more pros in our opinion. Being able to move fast, throw the ball down the field. If you need to score quick, you can score quick, so on and so forth. But we will continue to try to get better in those areas, yes. Well, we made some adjustments. They came out in the first play of the game. We felt like they would throw deep. I would. Everybody's thrown deep on us and hit it, so why not? Quarterback made a nice throw, and right off the bat, you think, golly, the coverage is poor. Well, Broderick was right on him. The guy just made a nice throw and a nice catch. And then we kind of got behind the change defensively, and they scored. We let a guy run down the middle. And then we came over and made some adjustments, and Bill Young does a great job on the headphones. He said, let's get him over here and get him settled down and get back to the basics and what our plan is against this team. And obviously it worked. Charlie's been a really good leader for us. We had some seniors that weren't there today. And so when that happens, you have to have somebody step up and make a play. And the questions have come up about Charlie over the last month that, you know, could he be that guy when we get into the conference race, when we get down into the stretch of the season to make those plays. And my comment was, in our offense, it's really hard to say one guy is going to make those plays because it's predicated off what we get. But we've tried to scheme, formation, and finagle a way to get the ball to the guys that we feel like can make big plays while the younger guys grow up. That's different than what we've done the last 2 years here. Well, the weather was a factor. I mean, until we got the first delay, it's hard to throw the ball either side. And then we were flat, and we got beat up front. And I don't have a clue why. We practiced very well. We were fresh, but we weren't very physical up front in our offensive line. Today, I thought we were physical again. We gave up, one sack? And I think he held the ball on that one. He looking the wrong way. And we would grade that as not a sack by the offensive line because I think he held the ball for almost 5 seconds. So we were physical up front again today. They played with a lot of energy. Lindell was back, number 27, and he gives us a little extra on passing situations, and I'm sure you guys saw him. He can really cover the field. We haven't had him since the first game of the year. And he's the extra defensive back we can put in certain situations who can really run. And we were hoping that we could get him 15 or 20 plays today, and I don't know how many he played, but his workload will increase as he regains his health, and he helps us a lot. For the most part, with the exception of Lavach Cooper, who's not with us anymore for personal reasons, and Isaac Masalera, who's not with us anymore. We were healthy on defense for the first time, and they played with a lot of energy.
Mike, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Talked about maybe all-time winning.
Well, I'm happy for our football team and for Coach Jones. You know, I feel like that beating him, overcoming him in the win column is just kind of an extension of what he started. A lot of what we do here, even though we look different, are things that he instilled in me as a player. And so, you know, I kind of take this with him, and he and I talked about it earlier in the week, and he was very gracious and didn't want me to feel embarrassed about it, which I am. I'm kind of embarrassed about it, but so I said, we're going to take this thing together and just keep moving, and so, you know, we agreed and had a good conversation. I told the team that the players that have come through this organization the last 4 or 5 years are the ones that have done this. They play the games. They've got to do it themselves. And so it's a group effort, but obviously it means a lot to our staff and to me to be able to do it here at a place that I played and went to school.
You wanted to give an extra meeting the fact that it came on homecoming here in Boone Pickens?
Yes.
These two receivers, backup running back, starting quarterback, one down in the game, has been with 6 months. How would it together?
It's difficult when you lose maturity on either side of the ball. It's extremely difficult when you lose a quarterback. It even becomes more difficult when you lose the starting quarterback. And, you know, you mentioned Jeremy, which for us really is a starter. I mean, I know he's a backup, but we would use 2 of those guys a lot. You got Tracy Moore, who's as good a wideout as we've got, and then Isaiah, the experience. The senior experience is where you really lose it. But you got to play the guys that show up at practice. 84, you know, he practiced well all week. He had some issues catching the ball today, but he'll be better next week.
Charlie, you're on the cusp of having 3 guys with 100 yards receiving, whether it's Steelers and flex backs, and you start to look for guys who may be able to fill that gap, and you had some.
They played well for us. Stu catches the ball down the end zone. He's got 100. But one thing about Josh is he's 168 pounds. He likes to play football. He competes, and he's tough, and he's really what it's all about. And we count on him to make plays. He has to make plays. And then Blake continues to grow up. You know, you see Blake moving around a lot and adjusting in and out, and that's because people are screaming at him to get lined up right. And he learns on the run. Those guys will be better the next game and certainly better the next year.
What kind of things? Going with the wrong play,
Mm-hmm.
going into coverage, that kind of thing?
Both, just reads. Our offense is based on run pass, right side, left side, or the middle of the field based on what we get. And it seems complicated, but it's really not complicated. It's pretty simple for a guy that's done it some. It's not simple for a new guy. There were times he was on the wrong side of the field. There was times he should have been throwing it and he ran it, and there was times he should have been running it and he was throwing it. A quarterback that executes in, we had 90 plays, so a quarterback that's really tuned into our offense and is dialed in and knows what's going on, he would make 2 or 3 mistakes maybe. We've had him make less than that. Average would be 5 or so, but he was probably 8 or 10, maybe 12 times he was on the wrong side of the field. But he'll get it corrected, and half of those he won't make a mistake on in the next game. Good?
In the training time delay, though, with the way long with rest, make it a little bit easier to give one more time to more well.
We don't feel pressed. And if we were out there and getting 250 yards of offense and couldn't score any points and defense is playing good and you look up there and you're behind 13-7 or 13-10 at the end of the game, there's more pressure to say, do we need to make that decision? But what you're saying is right. He gives us the luxury of we need to bring him back the right way, and JW's earned this. You know, he was sore in the second half. Or really, I think the second quarter. and then all through the second half, he wasn't full speed. A couple times he was running the ball, and I would have preferred that he not run it, but it worked out for us.
I know you don't like to talk about anything, but
I didn't get the latest on him, but it didn't look good to me. They'll MRI. He's a guy that needs to be MRI'd with the possibility of the severity of the injury, and then obviously we'll know more tomorrow. Good? All right.